Hi. I'm ready to read you The Iron Dragon Never Sleeps, Chapter 4. And have a little drink of this fantastic watermelon sparkling water juice. It's so good. And now I'm ready to read. All right, here we go. Chapter 4 of The Iron Dragon Never Sleeps. Keep her voice down, Winnie, said her mother. We're in a public place. All right, said Winnie. The dining room of Swanson's rooming house didn't seem all that public to her. It held only 4 tables. As far as Winnie could tell, everyone who stayed at Swanson's worked for the railroad, and they were all too busy slurping their soup or talking among themselves to pay any attention to her. Still, eating at Swanson's was very different from eating at home. For one thing, they didn't get to choose their own meals. For another thing, Papa always tucked his napkin carefully under his chin. At home, he mostly used his sleeve if Mama wasn't looking. Tonight they were having roast beef again. It was the third time this week. We have to put some meat on your bones, Mrs. Swanson had told Winnie. Winnie was not putting much meat on her bones tonight. Her food was mostly untouched. She was still thinking about Lee. Wait till Rose and Julia heard that she had met a Celestial. Eat up, Winnie, said her mother. Your dinner's getting cold. Winnie took a bite of her roll. I met a Celestial boy today, she said. Well, actually, I met him before, but today I talked with him. His name is Lee. Lee Chang. He works for the railroad. I didn't know the railroad hired boys, said her mother. What was he like? He seemed quiet. He talked a little funny, the way he put his words together, and he definitely looked funny, especially with that braid of hair on his head. Best place for it, said her father. Keeps it out of the way when he's working. Winnie hadn't thought about that. But why have it at all, she asked. Why not just cut it off? Can't, said her father, pouring gravy on his mashed potatoes. From what I hear, the Manchu emperor back there in China ordered them to keep their hair that way. But they're in America now, said Winnie. China is far, far away. Doesn't matter, said her father. A law is a law. Her mother sighed. He must be a very powerful emperor, she said. Winnie knew about emperors only from storybooks. It was hard to imagine them as real people. She couldn't really blame Lee for doing what an emperor wanted. She wouldn't want to get in trouble with an emperor either. What was this boy doing when you talked to him? Her mother asked. Getting water from a stream. He was going to refill a keg, I think. They must drink a lot of water on hot days. Eli snorted. It's not water they drink, it's tea. Lukewarm tea. He shuddered. It must agree with him, though. They're never sick. Do you really think the tea makes them healthier? Marjorie asked. Who knows, said Eli. Maybe it's all that cuttlefish they eat, or bamboo sprouts, or the dried seaweed, or all those vegetables. Pass the butter, please. Winnie blinked. She hated vegetables. Why would anyone eat so many of them on purpose? That's exactly what I say all the time. Why would so many people eat vegetables on purpose? Where do they get such things? She asked. The Chinese foods are shipped in from San Francisco, her father explained. Most of them arrive all dried up like something dead or worse. After the Chinese cooks add water to the stuff, it perks up some. Not exactly like real food, though. He shook his head and stabbed his mashed potatoes. What's the matter, dear? Asked Marjorie. Eli shrugged. Oh, it's just the tunnel. My crew spent the whole day blasting. We were trying to enlarge the heading, and how far did we get? 1 foot. He slowly crushed a roll between his fingers. Solid rock can be so stubborn. I'm sure it is, Eli, said Marjorie, but don't take it out on the rolls. Winnie hid a giggle in her napkin. 1 foot wasn't very much, though. Imagine 20 or 30 men digging only that far in a day. The Celestials work hard, don't they? Asked Winnie. Sure do, said her father. Why, they can even beat a crew of Welsh miners brought over special from Europe. I don't know where they get their energy. He sipped his coffee. Oh, hello. Surprise. Here's a little friend. Sorry. Um, oh my goodness, I lost my place. And now there's a crying Percy down below. Okay. Percy's mad because he doesn't get to be up there. Oh, dogfight. Sorry, where was I? Why, they even beat a crew of Welsh miners brought over special from Europe. I don't know where they get their energy. He sipped his coffee. Maybe it's their baths. So in the 1800s, in the 1700s, people never bathed. They took baths like maybe once every 3 months or even sometimes once a year. In the 1800s, people bathed a little bit, a teensy bit more often, but people just were not very clean and showers hadn't really been invented yet. And so what was really kind of a cultural difference is that people from China believed in being clean and in bathing, and so it kind of freaked out all the people that weren't from there because they couldn't understand why you would want to take a bath so often, right? It was a big cultural difference being clean, and especially if you're working really hard, you would probably want to take a bath because it would make your muscles feel a little bit better too if you were digging tunnels and working really doing hard physical labor on the railroad. I'm sure taking a nice hot bath eased your muscles and made you feel better. Winnie looked confused. Baths? She disliked them almost as much as vegetables. Yes, baths. Her father took a bite of roast beef. The Celestials are very organized. They've divided themselves into small groups. At night, the group cook prepares a large boiler of hot water. Then the Celestials fill up empty powder kegs with water and take sponge baths. A bath every night? Winnie was amazed. It sounded like torture. Every night, her father repeated. Then they put on fresh clothes to eat supper. Her mother eyed Winnie's dusty frock. You know, Winnie, she said, you could learn a lot from the Chinese. Solid burn. Winnie's mom is like, you kind of smell bad and you're really dirty. Ah. You know, Winnie, she said, you could learn a lot from the Chinese. Winnie wasn't so sure. Here at the rooming house, there was one bathtub in a room at the end of the hall. Everyone shared it. She sighed. Her mother was giving her that funny smile, the one she didn't really understand. Somehow Winnie had the feeling she would take more baths this summer than she ever had in her whole life. All right. Hope you enjoyed that chapter. We're going to see more cultural differences, right? And Winnie is going to learn about a different culture, and that's always pretty interesting when that happens. If you've met people that are different from you, I always enjoy that because you find so many similarities and differences. One of my favorite things is when I travel, I like talking to people and staying with families when I travel. And it's kind of fun because you learn all about a different culture by staying in someone's house. And they learn a little bit about your culture by asking you questions and spending time with you too. So it's kind of fun. So Winnie's going to learn a whole lot more from Lee about being Chinese and what it's like to live in California when you're Chinese. So, anyhow, I will talk to you later.